Hello, Houston. Welcome. We are here today to talk about the opportunity that Realty of America has. We're going to share important updates, what the company is about. We're just now getting started and people are coming into this sold out event. We're looking forward to seeing you today.
So we are going to kick this off. And we are so excited. Now, we were supposed to have Mark and Eddie. Eddie had something come up at the last minute and could not be here, but just as good, we have Mark and we have Chad Smith. So I think most of us know Mark. Probably most people know Chad as well, but Mark is one of our two fearless leaders and really a hometown hero. Wall Street Journal Realtor of the Year a couple of years ago, and just a powerhouse in shaking up the way that real estate is being done today. And Chad came over very early to ROA. He is a $1 million+ producer with his team in Dallas year after year, just an incredible producer, and also in the world of coaching. So I'm just going to welcome you guys up.
Thank you.
And let you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here. What an amazing group. If you look around, what a great group of professionals, especially coming out right before the holiday.
Right.
So thank you for taking your time. It means a lot to Chad and I. I'll just introduce Chad so that you guys know. So we met Chad, right before launch or right at launch.
Yeah, late last summer.
Late last summer. He was introduced to us by Miguel, who's one of the coaching clients that Chad has. And Miguel went from $50,000 in GCI a year to what? Tell his quick story.
He had been in real estate for 5 years. He couldn't break 100K. He plugged in with us. He broke 100K. The next year he went to 250, and then last year he doubled again and went and broke 500. And he's growing again this year. So yeah.
So Chad runs a coaching program called the Real Solutions, and so when we met Chad, it was a great experience meeting him in DFW. He runs a $100 million team. Doing millions of dollars in GCI every year. Great individual. He's also been promoted to the Director of Agent Success and Education for Realty of America. So we're happy to have him here. And thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Mark.
And next slide. Next slide, please. So. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I know I'm a native Houstonian, so some of y'all have done business with me, friends with me, but for those that don't know me, Mark Dimas. I just turned 50 last year. I've been in real estate since 2002. Actually, my cousin Kevin, where's he at? That's my cousin Kevin, and his dad is who I went to work for in 2002 as his assistant, as his dad's assistant. And I was working my business on the side as an individual agent, doing my own video, doing my own staging, doing my own, putting out the signs and listings and TC and all that. First year in real estate, I sold 27 houses. That December of 2002, I closed $1 million in real estate, which is equivalent now to about $3 million in real estate, because our average price back then was about 120. And I just remember thinking, this is the greatest country in the world where a college dropout can spend less than a few $100s to get their real estate license and make more money than doctors make in a month. And then it's been continually increasing my business since then. My second year of business, I did 54 transactions. I hired my first assistant, Tammy King. She celebrated. Is she here?
She's here.
Hey, Tammy. What's up, Tammy? So Tammy, her dad was my mentor in real estate. And now Tammy is celebrating 21 years with the Mark Dimas team. So awesome. Thank you, Tammy.
That's so cool.
And after Tammy got involved to help me, then we went to 76 transactions, then 98, and then over 100 for many years. And then in 2012, I was blessed to pick up a cyclist who was hitchhiking on the Pacific Coast Highway in California. His name was Ryan Taylor. He worked for a hedge fund that managed over $5 billion in real estate. And since then, I've sold and I've helped acquire and help sell at least 4,000 houses because of that one relationship. And that really transformed our business. 2022, 2023, our team was ranked the #1 team in the entire country by the Wall Street Journal. My biggest year with my team, 55, by the way, about 15 licensed agents that are out in the field producing, about 10 agents that were just on the keyboards making offers. The rest of the staff, about 30 staff, we closed 3,200 houses. We did $971 million in production. I did that living in Mexico 160 days. I did that, really spending a lot of time away from the office because we have such an amazing team with people like Tammy, and Maribel was actually on the team at the time as well, and she's here, so I really appreciate what Houston has done for me and my family. And then I had this vision, that I was actually talking to a good friend of mine. I could say his name now because he's with Realty of America, but his name is Michael Brock. He's the #1 agent in Georgia. And I remember talking to Michael Brock and going, and we had just closed the 3,000 houses. I think the next year it went down, we were about 1,700 houses that next year. And I told him, I said, hey, what do you think is happening with the industry? I said, the interest rates are going up. I said, our clients are buying less homes. Things are changing. And we just started brainstorming, masterminding. That's how business happens, right? You just talk to people that are at a high level and you say, what should we do? Because we got to get ready for the shift. One thing about me in real estate is I never make excuses. That's a big deal for me, like no excuses. If it's a seller's market, great. Let's go get, more buyers, and or more sellers. If it's a buyer's market, let's get more buyers. If it's institutionals coming out, let's get institutional. Flipping, it doesn't matter. You have to move with where the business is, because what your opinion doesn't matter. It's not going to change that investors coming in the market. It's not going to change that it's a seller's market. Interest rates are up or down. And I remember telling, I was outside grounding. I was walking around. So when I talk normally, I'm like walking in a big circle, right, and talking. And I said, Michael, we're doing it all wrong. He goes, what do you mean? I said, man, we're running parallel to each other. I said, you have staff. I have staff, you have off market, you have, opportunities with hedge funds, I don't. I have opportunities with REO, you don't. We have Zillow, you don't. You have Open Door, all these different businesses that we can share together. I said, let's create a mega team. And when I mean mega team, let's close 30,000 houses in a year. So how do you close 30,000 houses? Selling 100 houses a month in 25 markets. And that's how we're going to do it. I said, let's combine our resources. I'll have the TC department. You have the on the ground, boots on the ground marketing and management department. We're going to bring another person. He isn't with Realty of America yet, but he will be, another big player. And I said, and he'll handle all the tech. And one of the things about me is I have Mark Dimas Properties at the time. Very small, office that did a lot of volume, but a small presence when it came to agents and the people that were involved. And one of my philosophies of business is John Maxwell's quote, one is too small of a number for greatness. I mean, that really changed the course of my business when I understood that. We started out as independent real estate agents, working on our own, and we can go really fast doing that, right? Nobody's telling us what to do. We don't have employees that we have to worry about or team members we have to feed or anybody that we have to be accountable to. But then it only gets you so far, right? We only have so much time, especially if you're doing really good business. You're going to have to continue to add people to service your clients at a very high level. And so, my first evolution of one is too small of a number for greatness is just adding members to the team. Right? The second evolution to that is saying, how do we add partners and dissolve my ego, the brand of my what's a bigger ego than Mark Dimas Properties, right? You put your name on the sign, that's your ego, right? And then taking that name down and saying, hey, I really want to partner with the right people to do something big. And so in order to do that, I had to step outside my comfort zone. And, I called Lance Loken. A lot of people know Lance Loken in this office. I mean, in this room, right? So he's a friend of mine. We mastermind together. And I said, hey, Lance, I've never been recruitable until today. I said, I've got this big vision and I'm looking for a company that has the infrastructure for me to spread out nationwide, internationally. And I'm interested in Keller Williams. I've probably referred at least 100 agents to Keller Williams because of their training platform and the type of business that they did. So I went out, I had about a 30-minute conversation with Gary Keller. went to their conference in Austin, and I just felt like, it just wasn't forward moving enough for me. There's just so much going on, and the industry is changing and changing, especially with technology, with AI, with blockchain, just all these things and real estate is all of you know this, that real estate is a business that's about 20 years in the past. If you really think about it. I don't know if this still exists, but on the Houston MLS listing input sheet, does it still ask you for a fax number? Because it did about 3 years ago, and I was like, who owns a fax machine in the last 10 years, right? And so, and even things like selling your house, when you sell your car, you used to go put an ad in the paper. But now what do? You just go to the dealership, you sell them the car, you go to CarMax, you sell them the car, you go to Texas Auto Direct, you sell them the car. And then that happened, 20 years later with real estate, with a Zillow Offers, Open Door, OfferPad, because that's where the convenience of the consumer is. So you always have to be thinking, what is the next step for you in your business so we can stay ahead of the curve and not fall back complaining about where business is not coming in, and realizing that I just stepped into something where I'm flooded with the opportunities of business. And so then I went and talked to, I was introduced to another great human being, Josh Miller and Sam Rodriguez with Epic Real Estate. They were 200 agents at the time. They came to my office, talked to me about, joining that company, and they were just too new and it just didn't feel like it was the right time for me. And what I didn't know is that, God was closing doors for me because something bigger would be opening up, right? And then I went and spoke to EXP because Leo Pareja, who is the CEO of EXP, became the CSO, and he's a really good friend of mine. And one of my other philosophies of business is, all things being considered equal, people like to do business with their friends. And all things not being considered equal, people still like to do business with their friends. And even though I had not felt that I would align myself ever with the company of EXP, it just wasn't something that fit what I thought I would join. But because he was in leadership, now I was open to the idea. And for about 3 or 4 months, we game planned on how I was moving my team over to EXP. We ended up not moving. That was in 2022, late 2022. And little did I know that Eddie Garcia is one of my best friends. We've been friends for over a decade. There's a lot of definition of friendship, right? You're friends on Facebook. You're friends because you did a deal with each other. You're friends because you see each other. But then there's that friendship that you call when you have your highest highs because nobody else, other people will judge you. Right. When I made my first $1 million in a week, I can't post that on social media. My biggest month was 790 closings in 1 month. We're closing 5 houses an hour. So just take 5 houses an hour, 790 closings in 1 month, and figure out how much money you can make in gross commissions. And that's something that's very hard to call somebody up and even share. But you want to share this incredible accomplishment. But he was one of those friends I can share with. And then the lowest lows that you have. He was one of the people that came to me and was like, hey, Mark, I'm flying to you. I'm spending a week with you. Don't do anything stupid type of thing. I was like, I'm not going to do anything stupid. But thank you so much. He's that type of friend. A lot of other people know Eddie because of social media, because he gives so much back to the community. He's was the CEO and founder of Realty of Chicago. And he started Realty of Chicago about 12 years ago. And first year after starting Realty of Chicago, he started giving back to the community in his turkey drive event. I think it was 150, 200 turkeys the first year that he started doing the event. He since have fed over 250,000 people in the turkey event. This will be millions of people because now we have a nationwide turkey event for Realty of America. We have a backpack event that we're starting as well. That's going to be coming up in the next, couple months? August 2nd is our backpack event. So that's going to be nationwide. We're going to be sending thousands of kids to school with new backpacks and school supplies. People that it's just harder for them. And that's the type of friend he is. And he came to me in July of last year. Has it been? No, 2 years ago, 2023. July of 2023 to share a vision with me. And I'm going to let Chad kind of give his take on, who Eddie is and meeting him and telling a little bit of his story as well.
Sure. So last summer, Miguel comes to me and says, hey, I want you to meet these guys. They're really great guys. Okay. At that point, I had been at KW for 17 years straight, same office. So when I started, there were only 65 agents in that office, and then it went all the way up to 700. We became the most profitable KW office in the world 2 years in a row. And then we'll get into my limitations on that. And then we knew we wanted to keep growing, and we had gone to EXP. So I'd been at EXP for 3 years. It wasn't what I was expecting. And so I had already met with Epic Realty, a startup called Radius. I had met with Real. I had met with all these different things. And one of these young men in my coaching community says, hey, I want you to come meet these guys. So I get on the phone with Mark and Eddie the first time. And after about 5 minutes, they go, hey, we don't want to tell you all this over the phone. Will you fly to Chicago tomorrow? I'm like, no, I don't think I can make it tomorrow, guys. So they call me the next day and they say, hey, we're gonna fly in. We're gonna be in Houston. We'll drive up to Mansfield. Let's have dinner. Okay, so we get to dinner, and I'm sitting there with these guys. I had no idea what to expect. And one of the first things that Eddie tells me is, we're gonna build a great American company. Well, I don't know that I can ever recall hearing somebody say that. And then he starts to walk me through his story. So he was born in Mexico City, and both of his parents had been homeless. They were in such poverty. And then he has an older brother. They could barely even feed his older brother. And then Eddie was born less than 12 months apart. And so he tells this story about how his father did all these things in order to provide for the family. And he just had this deep respect for his father. And so they ended up in Chicago. He grows up in Chicago. And instead of his father's dream was that Eddie would go to college. And Eddie walks up to his dad right as he's graduating high school and says, I don't want to go to college. I want to go into real estate, but I'll only go if you give me your blessing. Like, when people tell you their story, they're showing you what their pattern is, right? Success leaves clues. And when I'm sitting there at this dinner and all I hear, I have no idea what to expect, but I'm hearing this pattern of hard work and honor. And then I'll tell you, the thing that really stands out to me is that Eddie's number one drive was to break a family pattern. And I mean, it has propelled him through everything that he's done. So his father says to him, listen, I'll only agree that you don't go to college if you'll commit to me that you'll become a millionaire by the time you're age 30. And Eddie said, done. He said he didn't even know what that meant. So by the time he's 26, he's a millionaire. And then it's 2012, and all of this, what happens when you become a millionaire in real estate? All your friends want to get into real estate, right? So everybody's flocking to him like, hey, I want to get into real estate. And he's like, yeah, just go join a brokerage. And they said, no, we want you to teach us. So he starts Realty of Chicago in 2012. And by 2022, 2023, it's 450 agents, about $1 billion in production, 1,800 homes a year. He owns a title company, a real estate school, a mortgage company, the brokerage, a construction company, a staging company, a media company, and he's never borrowed a penny from a bank in his life. Well, that got my attention because I've met some amazing people, and I was part of that office that was #1 in the world for KW, but I'd never met someone with that type of a story. And then he's sitting with Mark Dimas, who's the #1 agent in the nation, 3,200 homes a year. So they got my attention, right?
That's right.
So,
what's really cool about the story and how he says it is that, we said we wanted to meet him. We weren't going to tell him everything over the phone. And that's how we built Realty of America. Face to face, belly to belly.
Yeah.
Eddie and I flew over 100 flights before launching Realty of America to meet with people because, real estate is done face to face. It's just like this. Can you list a house on Zoom? We all did it during COVID. Yeah. But what I noticed is that my listing conversion went down over 50% from, Zoom listing appointments than in-person listing appointments. Because it's really hard to, feel the energy of somebody and to really be present. And so it was important to us that we met Chad in person.
It was. I think Eddie came to see me. It was 3 or 4 times. I mean, that was the season he was in, and that was the commitment. And then let's go ahead and share this. So Eddie was about to retire.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in the middle of the night and he has this dream. And the dream is, instead of Realty of Chicago, the dream is Realty of America. So in the middle of the night, he wakes up and he goes to GoDaddy. And that was a whole process, just to even know how to log in. And he spent $18,000 buying realtyofamerica.com before he ever flushed the idea out with anybody. So he waits until, I think it was 8 in the morning, the next morning. And the first person that he called was Mark Dimas.
Yeah, so at that time in my life, a lot of you who follow me on social media know that my son Marcelo was born at 26 weeks. He just celebrated 3 years. So he's 3 years old right now. He spent 74 days in the NICU. He was less than a kilo, and so which is less than 2 pounds, by the way. And He fit in the palm of my hand. He was so if you go to my Instagram, I have it pinned, but his whole hand, the entire hand, fit on the very first point of my finger right here. And during that time, a lot of things that were changing in my life. I had COVID for 45 days. I, went through, changes in my life. I was closing a lot of business. I was traveling a lot. I had a new son. We spent, he was born in Galveston. So he was born, we were living in Tiki Island, at my place in Tiki. And so we're at UTMB over there every day between 3.5 to, because we counted, the shortest amount of time we spent with him in a day was 3.5 hours.
Wow.
The longest was 8 hours. And at a time, sending, I had so many people from around the country sending me prayers, sending me music, because I have a lot of people, hey, I got this flute music for your son, I have this, I have that. And so we would be there just, in the incubator with my phone and just having the music like right there so that he can hear it. And so Eddie calls me at 8 in the morning. What's up, Mark? How's it going? I haven't seen you in over a year, because he's traveling now a lot. I'm traveling. Just life happens, but it picked right back up. I was like, hey, how's everything going? He was like, man, I've seen your son only grow up in Instagram, and I've been praying for him, and I want to meet him. And I want to see your new house that you built. I want to talk to you. I just want to reconnect. I said, come on. I said, I just got in from out of town. Both my adult kids have moved out of the house. I literally have 2 bedrooms ready for you. Come anytime you want. He says, I'll be there tomorrow. That's how Eddie is. He was like, let's just get on a flight and go. And so he came, and Eddie tells a story that when he landed in Houston, he goes, this is the dumbest ideas of all the dumb ideas I've ever had. Because Eddie was planning on retiring. Mm-hmm. He was 38 years old at the time. He was building a 27,000 square foot headquarters for Realty of Chicago. Mm-hmm. He had already had his successor for CEO, which is David Dominguez, one of our founders. And he was like, hey, I'm going to give this to David. I'm going to give this office to my team and to my clients. And then I'm out. I'm traveling. I'm going to start a family. I'm going to find a wife. I'm going to start having kids. Because his whole reason for not starting a family was to break the cycle of poverty that his entire family has had to deal with. And he was like, I don't want to, he tells a story of, that was real traumatic for him, that his mom bought him like this die-cast 911. Probably cost like $12 at Aldi. He said they bought it at Aldi. And when his dad came home, it created an entire really bad feud with his mom, because they didn't have the money to spend. And he just remembered, like, that's never going to happen to me. Mm. Once I become successful, my wife will have whatever she wants. Our kids will go to any school they want. Money will not be an issue, but that is my drive. And so he was like, I'm now about to retire, and now I've got this crazy idea, so big, and that's going to cause me to work even more. So he just decided to not say anything. So we spent Friday hanging out, Saturday hanging out, and then Sunday morning at like 6 in the morning, I get a text message. Hey, you up? And I was like, yeah, I am now. And he was like, hey, can we go to breakfast, just you and I? And I was like, yeah, let's go to breakfast. So we went to Harvest Cafe, which is one of my favorite breakfast spots in Katy off of I-10. If you haven't gone, it's a great spot. And we just started chatting. And before that, we weren't talking business. We're just friends. A lot of times when you're in real estate, you don't even want to talk real estate, with your friends that are in real estate. You want to talk about other things that's going on in life. And he just asked me, hey, what are your 5-year goals? And that's very common for Eddie to ask. And so I was like, oh, here's what I plan on doing. I want to close 30,000 houses. I got this big project in Mexico. I want to live in Mexico on the mountain. I want to fly a helicopter from here to here to here and do business all from the mountaintop. And he was like, in his mind, he goes, okay, I'm about to pitch somebody who has a really big vision. Yeah. And he goes, you know what, Mark? I'd like to tell you about a dream that I had. He goes, I've always wanted to know how to go national with Realty of Chicago. I didn't think it could work like Chicago title. I didn't think it would work as Realty of Houston, Realty of California, Realty of San Antonio. It's just too many, there's no brand or name recognition. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I woke up with this vision of realtyofamerica.com. And he goes, you're almost retired. Because when you flew in here, you offered me all your suits, all your ties, all of your cufflinks, because you haven't had to wear a suit in over 4 years because I was out of production. And you're doing all these things, flying and traveling to Mexico. I mean, you're pretty much retired. And if you retire right now, no one is going to say you didn't do enough. People will actually call you and congratulate you for the work that you've done. He goes, however, you've built up all these golden tokens in your life, helping people with masterminding with them, giving them business, helping them with their, whatever it is, speaking for their teams and flying around the country. And there's lots of these golden tokens that if you retire right now, you're not going to be able to cash in. He goes, or we can do something like really big, create the biggest, real estate company in the country and use those golden tokens to open up any door in the real estate industry. And I said, okay. I was like, this was different than what I was expecting the conversation to be, because I didn't really think that he would even talk to me about starting a real estate company. But what he didn't know is that I had already been researching for the past year,
right,
with Keller Williams,
right,
with Epic, with EXP, with whoever I could think about, trying to partner with. He had no idea. So I asked him, and I make decisions really quickly. That's a great thing in my life, and it's also been a bad thing in my life, right? And those of you will know that I'll make a decision real quick. All right, let's do it, So I asked him these 3 questions. I said, number 1, I said, will it have rev share? He said, it has to have rev share. It's the future. And let me tell you, that is a really crazy statement that I heard from him, because Eddie had a very traditional model.
Right.
You came into his company at 60-40. Then once you hit 2 million in production, then you went to 70-30, I think. And then at the end, you stopped at 75-25. And for 10 years, he had no cap.
Right.
Super traditional model. And so when he said that it'll have rev share, I was like, okay. I said, is it going to have equity? He said, it'll have equity. I said, is it going to go public? He said, it'll go public. And I said, I'm in. And he... If y'all know Eddie, he's very, he's a great poker player, because you cannot read his face.
Right.
He's super happy, and he's like, inside, he's like, man, this is the most adrenaline pumping, Bomb drops next to him, he's like this. He's super scared. You just don't know.
Right.
Right? But this time he let his emotions out, because he kind of leaped up in front. He goes, you're going to close your company down? And I said, yeah, I'll have to close my company down. And he goes, you know that you're going to have to put in work like you've never put in before, right? And I said, I'm ready. He goes, okay, I got a commitment for you. He goes, if we're going to do this together, I can't be the only one putting in the work. I need you to put in just as much work. I'm not going to be putting aside my family and my company and closing Realty of Chicago down. That brings him, at that time, not to say how much he was making, but he was making in a day what most people make in a year. That, with no debt, 7, 8 verticals, flipping houses, real estate. I mean, it's incredible business model. He was like, I'm not doing this if I'm working, by myself. And I said, no. He goes, I got a 5-year commitment for you. I want you to give me the old Mark. The suited and booted Mark is how he put it. And I said, oh, you want the Mark that doesn't eat or sleep, right? I don't eat. When I say don't eat, because I fast a lot. I'll fast 2, 3, 4 days at a time, So I was like, I'll give you that. I said, under one condition. And he said, what's that? I said, when we go public, I want to be the one who's ringing the bell. And he said, bet. Little did I know that there's no bell. There's a button, because we got to experience that next year, that year. But yeah, so anyways, that's how the story of Realty of America got started on that day. Can you go to the 2 slides? Pass up slides, so let's talk about what we did next. So the next thing that we did was that when we started our companies, we were nobodies. We didn't have any type of clout. We didn't have any business experience. We didn't know what we were doing in real estate. We were working with people we didn't know, that we would have to work with because we had to put food on the table. But now is a different time. We understood, we have money, we have experience, we have a reputation, and we understand how to scale the business. And that's hiring and finding talent that does it better than you. Mm-hmm. And so how are we going to build the best and fastest real estate company? Well, we're going to get the top guys in the industry that happen to be our friends that specialize in a certain type of business. And so we reached out to Claudia Zacre and Mo Perez. They specialize in running a mega team, 150 agents, $350 million in production a year. Before they came over, they were Real Brokerage's #1 team in California out of the entire country, and number five team in the entire country. They also run a $1 billion mortgage company. So specializing in that, large team environment. Then we brought Victor Nino was actually the second person to come on board. Actually, Victor, come on over here. Agent number 3.
Agent 003. Yes.
I didn't realize that Victor was going to be coming in, so he graced us with his presence.
Oh, of course.
And, this is a special time, so just tell us about, just a little, 5-10 minutes about, when Eddie came to you, what that experience was like, a little bit about your history. I think it's important you're here. And he's also the anchor partner for Texas. Mm-hmm. So he's a Texas anchor partner, and he's our founding partner as well. So
Great.
Give it up.
Thank you. How's it going, guys? All right, so Eddie calls me up, and I had actually met him years prior to that. I had been to Chicago several times to teach classes for him. And he says, Victor, I'm building a office for my agents. I'm thinking about retiring, and I want to go see your office. You work at KW. KW is the biggest real estate company on the planet. I want to go see what they do in their headquarters. So I said, well, it's an office. It's like this, really nice, professional office, but nothing super incredible. But I said, okay, come over. So then he decides to, fly over like 2 days later. Yeah. And then he goes to my office. We have a little meeting, and then he says, hey, let's go have lunch. And then at lunch, he's like, you know what, Victor? Do you want me to tell you what I came to talk to you about now, or do you want to wait for dinner? And I'm like, no, tell me right now. And then he starts telling me the story that Mark just went over, that he flew out here, talked to Mark. Obviously, I knew who Mark was. I had met Mark several times, but I know that if I would have seen him somewhere, he probably wouldn't have recognized me. As you guys know, in this industry, we meet a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. And when I first met Mark, we were at a conference, and I see this guy giving advice to some people. I go up, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then later on, he's getting an award for being #1. And then I see the record. I was like, dude, this guy's been back to back to back to back. I don't know how many back-to-backs, more than Michael Jordan. This is cool. And then I added him on social media. And I remember one day, one of our mutual friends comes to Houston and takes a video of Mr. Mark in his Ferrari. And I remember going to my wife, and I'm like, honey, look, my friend has a Ferrari. He didn't even know I existed, but he was my friend, right? Dude, that's so cool, because that was like a dream of mine, right? And then, so that's how I knew of Mark. So when Eddie's telling me the story, and he tells me that Mark's in, I said, okay, this man sold over 3,200 homes. Just quick math, I was like, that's over $20 million in commissions in 1 year. And since I had been with Eddie several times, in just prior conversations I had heard at a dinner maybe like a year before, that there was another company that was trying to buy out Realty Chicago, and they were willing to pay him like $20 million. And he didn't sell because he just loved Realty of Chicago and didn't want to just sell it off. So then I said, you know what? If I surround myself with individuals that are at that level, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go to the next level myself. And then he asked me a couple of questions. I was at KW, 12 years there. 3 years in a row, we were the #1 team in our market center of over 500 agents. You know, last year we did 114 million with my team. And I'll tell you this, that when he asked me these questions, it really made me say, like, I'm in even more. So he said, Victor, when KW started in 1983, what was Gary's experience at that time? And he was running an office for J.B. Goodwin. Amazing realtor, amazing leader, but he had never been a broker. And Eddie had been a broker for over a decade. And he says, tell me about Joe Williams. I said, Joe Williams, everybody respects him. Amazing man. He's the guy that puts the Williams in Keller Williams. He says, do you think he ever sold 3,200 homes in a year? I was like, no way. We would have heard about it in the books and everything.
Right.
And he says, do you think at inception that we have a chance? And I was like, yeah. The other thing is this. He says, now what about the name? Imagine if I came to you saying, hey, there's these 2 last names, Realty. How excited would you be? I'm like, Realty of America? Oh my God, we are in the Americas. The United States of America. I was like, this is a perfect name. What do we do every day? We go and help people so that they can get their American dream. What's the American dream? Home ownership, right? And to me, I just got super excited. I didn't know the comp plan. I didn't know what was going to be the breakdown on the splits. Nothing.
Wait, no logo?
No logo. I know for the longest time we're like, dude, where's the logo?
He was like, did I make the right decision? Because I don't know what the logo is going to look like.
I know. And it was just super, to me, it just excited me because I said, you know what? Nothing in my world right now is coming to change my life. Nobody at Realty or Keller Williams, is coming up to me and giving me an opportunity. Now I'm going to tell you just the kind of person Eddie is. I met Eddie and I met Mark again at a conference, and we were all panelists. At that point, I decided to follow Eddie. One day I get a call from a client that says my dad wants to sell a house in Chicago. And I said, I have the perfect agent. Call Eddie. Eddie says, we'll help him. They sold the house. He calls me. And I remember it was a Thursday because he calls me and he says, Victor, we helped Mr. Nunez. I sent you a check on Monday. Just want to make sure you got it. And then I said, hey, thank you so much, Eddie. By the way, was he happy? And then he starts laughing. He's like, wait a minute, I'm telling you that I sent you a check. You're not asking, how much was it for or anything. You want to know if he was happy. And that, actually, we had a conversation for about an hour. And then he says, Victor, I would love for you to come and speak to my office. And then I said, awesome. I said, you know what? I'm already getting a check from a referral. I'll fly over there. Cool. And then he says, you know what? I need you to speak with with Liz, the assistant. And Liz says, hey, Victor, I need your driver's license. I'm like, why? He said, because Eddie told me to buy your flight. And I said, no, you don't have to. It's like, Victor, if you don't give me that information, I don't buy you the ticket, I'm going to get in trouble. and she bought it for me. 2 weeks before, I call and I'm like, Liz, give me your address because I want to find out where I should stay. Like, oh, Victor, I'm sorry. We actually have your hotel as well. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Nobody at my current company ever did anything like that. And this guy that doesn't really know me from another company is pointing to me like that. And guess what? The day before I fly over, I'm like, okay, looking at my flight information, and he put me on a first class flight. Wow. That's Eddie. I get there, he takes me to a Cubs game because he knows I love baseball. And then later I find out that his only sport is business. And I was like, wow, how cool. We go out to dinner. I get to meet his people and how much of a family feeling it is to be there.
Yeah.
And that is something that we've been able to bring over to Realty of America. And that it's like super awesome to see so many leaders. And like you said when you started, the ego goes out the window. We're here to help each other grow. We want to help each other, but we want to help all the agents take their business to the next level.
Right.
And I'm just going to tell you one thing here before I get off. And this is it. How frequently Are you looking for an opportunity that can change your life? And that's a question for you to ask yourself. The other thing I asked myself when I was meeting with Eddie, what's the worst that can happen? I said, the worst that can happen is what? It goes bust, it doesn't work. Then what? KW is not going to be like, no. Right? I would go back. No big deal. So there was nothing to risk. I said, this man's closing down his doors after 2 decades of being a broker. Eddie is closing down the doors for Realty of Chicago after all the millions of money he spent building his brand.
Right.
I said, I have a little team of $100 million in production is nothing compared to these men. So I said, I'm not really risking much.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So the question for you guys to just ask yourself is, do you have opportunities that could change your path and what will take you to 5, 10, 15 years from now? And I'm just going to share this one last thing. And I've been an investor for real estate for many years, okay? And right now I make about $8,300 in passive income from my rental properties. You guys are in real estate, so you know how much money you would probably have to spend in down payments, upkeep, rentals, you name it, dealing with tenants and so forth. On the 3rd month here, I surpassed that in revenue share. Every single month this year on average, way over that. So I don't know about you, but do you want to go ahead and save up $1 million to invest? Or do you want to go ahead and just share this opportunity with individuals? Now the thing is this, we are not cold calling people, we're not bugging people. We have conversations with people we have a relationship with.
Right.
People where there's mutual respect. So then the other thing for you guys to think about, do you know some individuals that like you, trust you, and respect you that are realtors? Opportunity you have with Realty of America is bigger than anything you can even imagine, even just listening to this. Because I'll tell you, there's been times, months after someone joins and they'll be like, oh my God, this is awesome. And they finally get it.
Right.
So on this, I'll let you gentlemen take
Thank
over.
you.
All right,
Thank you.
Victor.
Yes,
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
You know, Victor and Diego, they're amazing, and you know what they specialize in as well? Is SOI, traditional business, no Zillow, no REO accounts, no cold calling, just traditional business, referral, repeat. So great team, great business partner. Alex Mosqueda out of Jersey handles, 700, 800 assets at a time, flipping homes, investment, assignments, ran a brokerage, Realtor of the Year for New Jersey Association. Andrea Serafini out of DC, luxury specialist, uber luxury in that market. And then David Dominguez was the CEO of Realty of Chicago. Realty of Chicago, before it got shut down to move over to Realty of America, was a number 11th largest brokerage in Chicago out of 4,000 brokerages, beating companies like Century 21, beating RE/MAX, and continuing. And Andre Vargas came on later. He's also Realty of Chicago, but now our anchor partner in Kansas, Missouri, and specializes in training agents. Next slide. And then we went out to build our support team. So we got our team of agents together that were going to help us build. And then we went out and got, the top of the top when it came to our C-suite. Max Zacher is our Chief Operating Officer. He's actually, he was on the board for the Gaylord, which is the biggest resort in the West Coast, maybe in the entire United States right now. I don't know how many billion-dollar project, but that's the type of individual. He ran a Keller Williams franchise. He runs a billion-dollar mortgage company. Adriana Castillo, I've known for over 10 years. She started with 643 Capital, which is a hedge fund that I worked with when I picked up the Hitchhiker. That's the hedge fund that I worked with. And then she went over to Roofstock. She was one of the founding employees at Roofstock, which is a SoftBank company, backed company. If you don't know Roofstock, she was responsible for closing the very first blockchain real estate transaction in the history of the United States. Could be the world, but she is the one who did that at Roofstock. She's our Chief Compliance Officer. She's also an attorney. She's amazing. Jackie Gaitan runs our finance. She was with Blackstone, the largest landowner in the United States, one of the biggest hedge funds, if not the biggest hedge fund. Maybe BlackRock is actually bigger than Blackstone, but I mean, they still, I don't know, probably 100 billion or something. So, you know, our company, she can definitely handle the finances for. Helen Kairos, she was actually VP of commercial for EXP. And then she started with Real Brokerage. She was the VP of operations for Real Brokerage. She handled all the 50 states, brokers, hiring, firing, all the management. She is now our VP of operations as well. Praveen, genius, Global Employee of the Year, because we do have office in Medellin, Colombia, and we will be setting up a tech team in India. But he's the one who's created realtyofamerica.com. which is our platform that we have. I'll share a little bit more about that. He's created our tech platform, our RevShare dashboard. He's created our onboarding system. And then he's working on some big AI right now that you guys are going to be happy with. And Zach does all our transaction settlement. He ran the team for Claudia and Max, a $350 million team. So he did all the settlement. This is our newest hire, Chris Kelly. Some of y'all might know him if y'all have ever worked with Open Door. Because Chris Kelly worked for Open Door for about 5 years. He's the one who set up the broker agent a program for Open Door when Open Door was just consumer, direct to consumer. 90% of their business was direct to consumer. He came in to start a team of 8. When he left, his team was 250 people on the team at Open Door. He was the one who set up all the partnerships across the entire country. Recently, he moved to EXP as head of partnerships, and he just came over and just started June 26th with us. He's head of partnerships, and he's the one that just, so how many people are with Realty of America that are not on the Facebook Realty of America page? So everybody in here is on that. Okay, so there's a post that we just made yesterday. And what did the post say? It said, listing agents, we're looking for listing agents. Why? Because we just landed one of the biggest accounts in the country for listings, and Houston is the pilot. We're going to be giving out 60 listings a week to start in 3 weeks. So you want to be involved in getting those listings? How many people are getting leads from us right now? All right, let's go. Y'all are getting direct business, right? Now this is an opportunity. If you have listing experience, go on the Facebook page, click on the application, and it doesn't matter if you only sold 5 listings in a year, or 12 listings, or 20 listings. It doesn't have to be 100 listings. We're just looking for solid listing agents that can make us look good, take us to the next level on the pilot, because we're taking this program across the entire nation. And this could change people's business. So instead of having to rely on only Zillow, only homes.com or whatever, Realty of America is bringing opportunity to you. Realtyofamerica.com leads. These, I don't want to say who the big announcement, but it's a company that all y'all know. And Tomas is our head of marketing. He used to work for my team for, I don't know, almost 10 years. He's amazing. Obviously, Chad Smith right here in the flesh, and head of client education, agent education and success. Corey Dahl came from Real Brokerage as well, I think, as well as EXP. She was head of onboarding. She is now the head of our onboarding white glove service. And then my own Crystal Henderson, she was the director of operations over at my office. She handles all transaction and finance. So we went together and not only got the greatest, in my opinion, agents to help us build the company. No other real estate company in the history of real estate, listen to this, in the history of real estate was ever started by the top 1% of real estate agents who are consistently doing business today. All of us on that, on the founding slide, continue to do business at a very high level.
Right.
And then we put the team together. We went out and we hired the consultants. Back then, like I said, we didn't have the money, but now we do. So we hired the best consultant to create our compensation for the RevShare. We're the first real estate RevShare company to have an infinity model. Goes all the way down to infinity on the levels. We hired a branding consultant. We hired our attorney on payroll, who is one of the #1 attorneys in Chicago that takes our companies public, so that we're advised the right way to go public. We have a finance consultant that we just hired to go through our books, because our goal is in the next 2.5 years to go IPO. So we have to have our books ready now. The great thing with Adriana Castillo is she helped Roofstock. She was involved in the process for Roofstock to go IPO. And what she said is, here's the reason why we didn't go IPO. Because our books were not set up. They were right, but they weren't set up the way that the market wants them.
Right.
So that's why they had to go get SoftBank money, which is still $1 trillion hedge fund anyway. But she is helping us to make sure that we go public. And so we got this great staff together. And then the next thing that we had to do, next slide, was to really fix a broken model. Like,
Right.
what are we going to do different? And I'm going to let Chad speak on that.
All right, so let's do this for just a minute. The story is the most important part of the whole day, but from this point forward, before we walk you through, how Realty of America is set up, take a minute, because these 2 hours or however long we're here today, it's not about us. This is about you today. So think about your career. Think about, there's a business quote, start with the end in mind. And so for 50 to 75 years, the best agents were always taught by the number one agent in any market, right? So like in 1960, if you were 18 or 20 and you wanted to get into real estate, if you met that most dominant agent that was on the corner of your city and they would mentor you, that was your best chance to break through. And then as technology got better, you could go to like coaching programs or masterminds. And then there were the big coaching companies. But what does that look like in the future, right? When Eddie went to meet with Mark, he said, rev share is the future. So what does that mean? And then Mark also mentioned that real estate's like 20 years behind. Okay, so I was at KW for 17 years. When I got there were only 65 agents in our office, and we were like the laughing stock of Dallas-Fort Worth. I didn't know that because I was 26 and I'd never made more than $22,000 in a year, and I didn't even know what a title company was, right? I just joined at this office. But I was blessed because that office went to number one in the world. 2 years in a row, it profit shared over $1 million back to the agents. But then the owner of that one office went and bought 15 offices and then became a regional owner of KW. And they didn't offer any opportunities to any of the agents that helped them become number one in the world. So the opportunities were geographically located, like little spots on a map, and he bought all of them for himself. Okay? And so for the last 75 years of real estate, what I want you guys to do is, before we walk through this, take 1 minute and imagine yourself as the number one agent in your city. If that's starting with the end in mind, is that you become the number one agent. Well, for the last 75 years, when you became the number one agent in your city, you had two options. You would become an independent broker and start your own thing, or you would buy a KW, a RE/MAX, a Century 21, you would buy a franchise. Is that right? Those are the only two options you had. Okay, that's what Mark was, an independent, right? And so was Eddie. Eddie was an independent. And my mentor owned 15 Keller Williams offices. Those were the two options. So we all know this stat. I think we all know the stat. Last year, 71% of all the agents in the country did not sell a house. So something is broken. Something's not working. And I'm going to cut to the chase on it. If you're in a big box brokerage and one person owns it, the other agents that have a lot of knowledge to share, they're not going to share because they don't own the brokerage. At this model with Realty of America, we own the company. So when Victor said, I want to help you, he's not kidding. He wants to help you. Every person here wants to help each person here break through their ceiling of achievement, because as every one of us prospers and breaks through ceilings of achievement, the value of the company that we own goes up. So this is the future. And because the market went through what it went through the last couple of years, it's never going back, right? We live in it's no longer a geographic territory. So we're going to show you several ways that you can think about it, and several ways that you could even start to explain this to other people, okay? All right, so we know 71% of realtors did not sell a house last year, but agents are working harder than ever before. However, very few are building long-term wealth. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what are the struggles that we're all dealing with? Agents are struggling with outdated commission structures. They favor the brokerage. There's a lot of people that still aren't even in a capping model, okay? They don't have passive income opportunities. They may get training support, but it's from somebody that took a job as a coach. Like these big box brokerages, they hire somebody for like $30,000 a year to sit there and teach all the classes. But the way to learn real estate is to learn from somebody who sold 3,200 homes in a year, or 350 homes in a year, or 500 homes in a year, or thousands of homes in their career. That's how you learn, right? I don't want to learn anything from someone that's not doing it at the highest level. So that's a big part of what's broken in the model. And then a lot of them are limited in their tech and their marketing tools because they're just doing it the way they've always done it. Okay, next one. So this is what I've been describing. This is the 75-year-old model. You have the big boxes. You have an international headquarters. And then these, I didn't touch anything, I promise. There we go. These two spots right here were the wealth building opportunities. If you own a region of RE/MAX, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, there are thousands and thousands of agents that are under your stewardship. And that's where those people can make really big money, okay? And then if you have an office that's profitable, then you can succeed, all right? But when agents sell a house, they pay.
Sorry, I think it's slide, I believe.
Sorry.
Sorry, we're just gonna keep.
Yeah? Okay. It's okay. When agents sell a house, they cover the office, the managers, the staff, the local owners get paid, the regional owners get paid, and the international company gets paid. Let's go to the next one. This is what it looks like now. This is Realty of America. The agents are the owners, and the international company exists in the cloud. And so when homes are sold, the agents share in that revenue like that regional owner and like that office owner. You see how simple that is? Okay, and we have disruptive tech being built out by Praveen and the rest of the team, equity ownership in ROA, and then revenue share. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so everybody's gonna get this. Mark said the real estate community is 20 years behind. Does anybody like watching anything on YouTube other than real estate? Raise your hand if you watch stuff on YouTube. Okay, what about Pinterest or Instagram? Right? This everybody in here, Facebook, you've got your favorite platform, right? Okay, well, on every platform, you've got people that are really great specialists at something, whether it's fishing or sports or like there's people that teach you how to shop at Dollar Tree. Like, I mean, you could, there's something for everybody, right? Okay, well, these platforms like a YouTube, anyone can create a content. Any one of us could go start a YouTube channel today. But the content creators that develop an audience, they keep people on the platform. And if they build a big enough of an audience, what does YouTube do? They monetize that content creator and they share revenue because that content creator is keeping people on the platform. Okay, let's go to the next slide. ROA is a platform. ROA is just like YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. And instead of that one owner that owns the whole region or owns an office or 15 offices, as you grow your business and you become attractive because you're breaking through your ceilings of achievement and people come to you and go, how in the world are you doing that? And you say, hey, come on over, let me show you what this is about. Then you attract agents, you deliver real value, and you build a community of like-minded people. That produces revenue from home sales, and Realty of America is going to share that revenue right back to you. Make sense? Yeah. So there will never be another traditional brokerage built from this point forward that will dominate U.S. real estate. This is the future. This is what Eddie told Mark that day. All right? Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so growing earnings. So let's go through let's break down the model for the earnings.
Sure.
One more, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just high level. So we are an 85-15 commission split company. So 100% of the revenue comes in, 15% goes to Realty of America, 85% goes to the agent, up to $14,000 cap in the commission. So we're capped at $14,000. After capping, you earn 100% of your commission. There's other transaction fees after capping and different nuances that if you want more information, we'll get into the detail, but I don't want to bore you with the details on that. 0 monthly fees. This is something that was Eddie's passion, because when we started the company and we were talking about, hey, we didn't know what the split was going to be. We didn't know what the rev share was going to look like. We didn't know if we would have a cap or not. We didn't know if we'd have monthly fees. We said, well, what are our competitors doing? Well, everybody's charging monthly fees, so we should charge monthly fees. And Eddie was like, no, look, Mark, I've created my brokerage from scratch. 90% of his agents were not realtors. That's crazy. Realty of Chicago, 90% are first-generation realtors. He created those realtors. He showed them how to fish for business by using Facebook and not paid marketing, free marketing. Teaching them how to fish on their own, getting their own worms, baiting the hook. And then they became successful, and he said, now find somebody else that wants this opportunity, and your goal is now to share it with them. And he says, let me tell you, there's a very thin line between success and failure when you're starting out as a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And to charge somebody $100 a month or $200 a month, that could break somebody to where they can't pay the bills, and then they get out of the industry completely, and they may have been just on the goal line of being successful. So I would rather invest in my agents, have them pay $0, and teach them how to fish. Let's just teach them how to do more business, and for sure we will be profitable. And we were like, okay, let's do it. So 0 monthly fees. We do have a $750 annual brokerage fee. So what does that mean? Instead of us charging monthly fees for all the tech that we offer and all the support that we offer, when you close your first 3 transactions of the year, you pay $250 each transaction, and that pays. So instead of paying monthly when you're not closing, we only ask you to pay when you are closing. Mm-hmm. However, we do not accumulate debt, so this resets every year.
Yeah, no loss carried forward.
Let's just say that you have a brand new agent, part-time, they close 2 transactions. Well, they're going to pay $500, right? Transaction 1 for $250, transaction 2 for $250, $500 for the year. Well, they didn't meet the whole $750. The next year, resets back to 0. We do not accumulate debt. We're a debt-free company, and we don't want to put you in debt either. So that's more of a value proposition that we have. $199 one-time onboarding fee and $50 for E&O insurance. Next. And then growing your network. So next slide on this. So this is revenue share. So 90+%, around 93, 94% of real estate companies in existence right now are non-rev share companies. So I'm sure this is you guys have seen what EXP, talks about on revenue share, Real on revenue share. So, the term has been thrown around, but a lot of people don't understand what revenue share is. So Nino had talked about Keller Williams. Also, Chad talked about Keller Williams, participating in profit share. Mm-hmm. How does profit share work? $1 million comes into the company, $500,000 goes out for whatever expenses in staff, $200,000 goes out for expenses in the office, $200,000 goes out for, new initiatives, and there's $100,000 left over. And then you split that money amongst the
49% of that goes to the agents.
Okay, so then 49% of it. So then you guys are splitting $50,000, in some instances 0, because it's like the IRS. You want to write off as much as you can, you get down to the bottom with nothing.
That's right.
Revenue share is completely different. $1 million comes into the company in revenue, and for our model, we're giving up to 60% of it back. So think about it. $1 million comes in, $600,000 goes back to all the agents that are participating at Realty of America.
Yes. That's
a different concept. And so what we have, and I'm not going to go too much in the details of this plan, because by the way, at the end, you can we'll give you this deck.
Sure.
But we have 5 main levels of revenue that you can earn. So, you know, in real estate, we're attracting agents every day. Whether you attract them on your own or not, if you've been in this industry long enough, somebody's going to ask you, how do I get into real estate?
Right.
Hey, what should I do to get into real estate? Hey, what do you think about lending? What do you think about title? What do you think about this, Mark? You know, they see your success. Some of them won't even ask you. They'll just become realtors, and you see them on Facebook go, that was one of my clients who became a real estate agent, right?
Right.
Because if you do it good, you make it also look easy.
Right. Right.
Maribel. Let's go. Maribel, let's go. Maribel was my client. Dave Ramsey EOP client, and I saw something in her. I was like, man, you should get into sales. You'd be an amazing real estate agent. How much volume did you do last year?
I don't know. I didn't check. I'm sorry. The most I've done is 20 million.
There you go. Hey, if you do 20 million in a year, and before that you were working at a job, how much were you making in a year?
I like $40,000.
Okay, 40,000 to 600,000. I mean, life-changing, right?
Right.
So we're all attracting agents. But in this model, when you help build Realty of America and you're attracting agents, you get to benefit. It's almost like having the opportunity to build a brokerage without the expense of a brokerage,
Right.
without the liability of the brokerage, without having to invest millions and millions and millions of dollars into creating a company. But you're getting to create revenue. So think about 25% on your first level. So if I attract Maribel and she sells a property and she brings revenue into the company, we're going to pay her 25% of that on the net. To have a 25% profitable business after all your expenses is a good business.
Right.
And she has no risk in the infrastructure and all that. So that's the how you can build success. And then if Maribel attracts Amy, then Maribel is going to make 25% off of what Amy sells, and then you would make 15% on what Amy sells and 25% on what Maribel sells.
And
Right.
I'm a capper.
And she's a capper, so she's going to bring in a full 3,500. Let's go to the next slide to make it, easier. This is a road to $1 million. I like to just simplify it
Yeah.
to show you how attraction and leverage works. All right, let's go to the next slide. This is my son is like, if you ever want to buy my son any kind of gift, anything car, anything with 4 wheels, 3 wheels, 2 wheels,
I like
you
that.
know?
You got big
And
foot.
so this is a 4x4 method. And so if you do this, so, we're a $14,000 capping company. So you're going to pay up to $14,000. But that's not the most you can make. You can actually make over 100%. So if you attract 4 agents to the company in your career, in a year, in the first 6 months, and those 4 agents are capping agents, in that year, you're going to make $14,000. So if you pay $14,000 to be at Realty of America, and you make $14,000 for revenue share, it costs you nothing to be here. Okay?
So
and
Mark-
go ahead.
Mark, let me chime in on this. So there's an agent on my team. His name's Jason Breitenstein. He's worked with me for 12 years. He worked for a new construction company for 13 years before he joined me. Never built any equity, anything at the new construction company. And he sold 600 homes on my team. Like, he could have gone out on his own. But I committed to him whenever I met him that I would continuously work to create new opportunities for him. So he coaches agents within the organization and makes overrides from that. But in 6 months at ROA, he's already running $1,000 to $3,000 a month in rev share. So he's at the 14K.
That's awesome.
And we'll get there in a minute. He's also earning RSUs and all these things. And he knows the math. He knows that he would have had to have bought X number of rental properties and have X amount of debt leverage in order to have that type of cash flow. And so that's a buyer's agent on a team in less than 6 months is already running at that level.
In real estate, you got to really think about revenue and yield, right? So if anybody owns rental real estate, in order to clear, let's just do simple math, right? In order to clear $14,000, that's what, a little over $1,000 a month, right? In order to net $14,000 at a 10 cap, nothing's at a 10 cap, that's $140,000. It's mostly at a 5 cap, so that's $280,000. And that's also with having to deal with tenant changes, fixing the property, taxes, all those things. After all is said and done, in order to earn $14,000 net, you would either have to have about $250,000 in an annuity, or have a property that you paid $250,000 to $300,000 and own it free and clear.
Right.
So think about that. In order to make $14,000 passive, most of the time you have to have between $250,000 and $300,000 put somewhere. Where here, this is based on attracting agents to a model that is helping them succeed at a higher level. Let's go to the next one, because, you know, once you get started, you want to go to the next level. This is your road to 100,000. How does it look? You directly attract 8 agents to your front line. Those agents that cap, you'll make $28,000 a year. So now you're profiting and making double what you paid into the company. And if those 8 agents just attract 4 agents, you'd have 32 agents on your second line, and then that's going to bring you $95,200. Maribel started with Realty of America. When did you start? September? Right in the beginning, right?
No, April.
April. Before. Okay, yes. So she signed an LOI before launch.
Nice.
For how many months did it take you to attract your first agent?
So it was right before. I think it was Kim and Lacey. So I would say like right before launch.
Okay, right before launch. So she had
4 months.
4 months of not attracting anybody pre-launch, which is like it's like a pre-IPO, IPO, you know, pre-launch. And then she started attracting. And how many agents do you have in your organization now?
150 at least.
150 agents. Your group is making how much on average in rev share, if you want to share?
20,000.
20,000 a month. Okay. So if that doesn't get you thinking like what the opportunity is, like 20,000 a month is life-changing money on a residual.
I'll chime in on this too. So I was at KW 17 years. At one point when we were number 1 in the world for profit share, I had 25 to 30% of that office in my downline. So the most I ever made in a year at KW in profit share was 55,000. I was at EXP for 3 years, and that's actually pretty good, right? Yeah. I was at EXP for 3 years. There wasn't any connection with anyone. I felt like I was all alone. Okay. And the most I ever made there was 16,000. So we joined, it was kind of right at November of 2024. And so therefore our first kind of full profit share check, I think probably would have been January.
Yeah.
And we've got 100, through May, we have 120 people. I have 120 people in my rev share organization. And through May, I've already made $38,000.
Oh, great. Good job.
So.
And for those people who don't want to stop, because you shouldn't, right now, we're 9 months old.
Right. It's brand new.
I mean, we're 9 months old. If you're going to work hard at anything, now's the time to work, because you have that catapult of first mover advantage, of being able to come into a market really new, to have the momentum that's happening. So 100,000 is great money. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of money, especially on the passive side. But you guys have an opportunity to get to even higher levels. So go to the next slide. This is where it really gets interesting. A road to $1 million. I mean, how many of y'all would really, I mean, that's life-changing, because this is something that you can pass on to your heirs.
Right.
Right? And so $1 million in passive income, pretty much most people can do anything that they want. You know, I was talking to a billionaire friend of ours, Pavan. A lot of you guys will get to meet him. Actually, I'm going to invite y'all to an event here that's coming up, and you guys can meet him. But he told me, he was like, you know, Mark, if you have $10 million in the bank, you can do anything I can do. Right? If you really think about it, you don't need 20 million, 50 million, 100 million, a billion. If you get to 10 million, you know, then you can pretty much do anything that any billionaire can do, except for maybe buy, you know, like a country or something, right? But you could go stay in any nice hotel in the country, right?
Sure.
And so this is an opportunity for you to be able to build a legacy. And so what does it look like on a simple, and this isn't even going to infinity or 5 levels.
Right.
This is just going
3.
to, number 1, attracting 24 agents. That may take you 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. It could take, some people it'll take them 6 months. 24 agents capping on your front line is $84,000 a year. Already, you're almost at $100,000 with that. And then if you're 24 agents, if you help, now you don't have to attract all these people.
Right, right.
You help these 24 agents. That's where collaboration comes in. You help them attract just what? 8 agents each. That's going to bring you 192 agents on your second line. And if you have already trained your 24 agents to also help the 192 agents, you just got to help them attract 2 agents each. And if you help them attract 2 agents each, that's 384 agents on your third level. That's $1 million a year in passive income. I mean, that's really life-changing. So understand that the advantage and the ability to grow your business is now with Realty of America. What's the next slide? So what have we done year to date? Now, this is where, how does RevShare get created? RevShare gets created by productive agents. Because without any revenue, there isn't anything to be paid. Fortunately for us, Realty of America is built with the best agents. I mean, you just look around. You got some of the best agents in Houston, Texas, right here, making like Maggie, the daughter over here. I love this. Give it up to Maggie. I love this one thing. I love this one video. It's ingrained in my mind. She comes out of this party in this fancy dress, this gala. She goes, I have no idea how to dance, but I can show you how to make $1 million in a year. And I love that, right? So you got some of the best agents, at Realty of America. And what have we paid in RevShare to date? We've paid, we're 9 months, we've paid 7 RevShares. Because we started like late September, and we didn't even onboard until October. You don't have any business going on in October, so we didn't actually have any production until November.
Right.
So I think November was our first month, right? November was, go ahead.
I would say we did have a lot of business, but we were closing with the prior broker.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. When you come on board, you're still closing out your pending deals with your previous broker.
Right.
But year to date, as of May, wait, what is it? It's July now? The last RevShare we paid out was June 20th?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it would have been through May, yeah.
As of June 20th, we paid $200 million back to our agents. $2 million that you guys have brought into the company, we've paid out to our agents.
That's
Our
awesome.
May payout, it's exponentially growing. In May, we paid out $457,000
That's awesome.
in RevShare, almost $500,000. Year to date, $2 million. So what is this? 2.5.
That's probably those last couple months of the end of the year.
That's including May then, total.
No, this is going to be including. So hopefully that number's right.
I think that's just the last.
Let's just say this already. We haven't our books close out on the 15th of every month because, even though we close a deal at the end of June, like 2 days ago or whenever it was, 2 days ago, it takes time for a check to get there or the last settlement statement, closing out accounts. So we don't close out to the 15th. We're already, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we're going to pay out over $500,000 in RevShare.
Nice.
So let's go to the next slide. And then how to grow your equity. And also RevShare, what's the purpose? The purpose of RevShare is to give back to our agents for helping us grow a company. The old model is that we take all of the revenue that comes in and we buy buildings, we hire staff, we do all these things to grow the company. That's a traditional model. In this model, we're investing in human capital. And we're saying, hey, who are the best people to help grow? What's our agents?
Right.
So let's give them their money. This is the blockbuster moment of real estate. Mike Del Prete talked about it, and I should actually put that slide up here so that y'all could download it. But if you just look up Mike Del Prete for 2023 Inman speech, he talks about how we're living right now in the blockbuster moment of real estate.
Yeah.
And you can look at it this way. Where are people moving to? They're moving away from capping non-cap companies. They're moving away from 100% companies. And you're seeing the mass exodus going towards RevShare companies.
Right.
Because why not get paid for doing, why not get awarded for doing what you're already doing? You're already attracting agents. You might as well get paid for it. You're already closing business. You might as well get paid for it. And this is where the future of real estate is going. And so, real quick, if you look at just the market cap of companies, Anywhere brand is the largest conglomerate of real estate brands in the world. 357,000 agents. And if you look them up right now on the I think it's the NASDAQ. But if you look them up, they're worth about 500 million. That's their market cap. You look at eXp Realty, they have 90,000 agents, and you look at their market cap, they're at 1.5 billion. A third of the agents or a fourth of the agents, yet they're worth 3 times the amount of the money. That's because that's the future of where real estate is going, and agents are starting to realize, I've got friends over here making money on equity, I have friends over here making money on rev share, and they're doing exactly what I'm doing, selling the same amount of real estate. I want to get involved in that. So we're going to, go ahead.
This one's important though, because you're getting rewarded in ownership of the company for your own production, right? This is not even about attraction on this slide. And I was at a spot in my business early on at KW, and I won like the agent award of the month. And then the team leader came up and was like, we got to get you attracting. And I'm like, hey, let me just get my head above water first before I start worrying about that or thinking about that. So some of you might be in that spot where you're like, man, I just need to get my production going. You can own stock. You're going to be building up RSUs, restricted stock units, that will eventually become stock through selling houses. That's what you're not getting. Now we'll get to the attraction side in a second. But this is, if you just start doing the math, that Mark said this earlier, the time is going to pass no matter what. 3 years is going to pass, whether we're at a traditional brokerage or whether we're at the future of real estate. 3 years will pass, 5 years will pass, 10 years will pass. Well, you could be earning 1,500 shares a year just from being a capper. Over 10 years, is that 15,000 shares?
In 10 years it would be, but here's how so why not get awarded for what you're doing? So our capping award is 500 RSUs. What is an RSU? It's a restricted stock unit that becomes a common share whenever we go public. So that's a way of owning equity in a private company, basically. So capping, so if you hit 93,000, roughly 94,000 GCI in a year, you're paying 14,000 to the company. We're going to award you with 500 RSUs every year for just capping. Not for doing anything. You're already going to want to cap because you got to make money to pay your bills, right? Now, if you hit the Legacy Award, so Trisha Turner, she's the one that came up with the Legacy name for Legacy Award. So give it up for Trisha, one of our top agents in Houston as well. When you hit 200,000 GCI, which a lot of our agents are over 200,000 GCI, you get an additional 1,000 RSUs. So every year, if you hit 200,000 GCI, you're going to earn 1,500 RSUs. Well, what does that mean? Well, you could look at companies like eXp as a model. eXp went up to $100 a share. Right now, they're floating around $10. Mm-hmm. So even if we were just where eXp was, that's $15,000 a year in equity that you're earning. And as the value of the company goes up, and I believe that our value of our company is going to surpass any real estate company because of what we're doing, and we're going to share those things with you as well. Right. And everybody is an owner. We are 100% employee owned. 100%. I'm an employee of the company. Eddie's an employee of the company. Every person that closes their first transaction at Realty of America is going to earn 30 RSUs. You become a shareholder just by closing one deal. And you're going to continue to earn equity. Eventually, we're going to have, and when I say that, it's going to be coming up, where our goal is by Q1 of next year, is that we'll be allowing our agents to be able to purchase into our pre-IPO purchase program to be able to buy shares on their own and to invest that way. Awesome. Long-term wealth. People in the previous companies, eXp and Real, have made millions and tens of millions of dollars in equity. I met with the guy who made $70 million off of his equity shares at eXp because he got in early and bought at $70 million. That's that's crazy numbers. Yeah. Next slide. And then we have attraction awards. This is like a BTSA. I was just talking to one of our leaders, Miguel, out of Orlando, Florida. He just joined, and he was telling me right now in Orlando they have builders are giving 10% commissions. So you want a second place to get a license? By the way, we only have one cap in the entire country. So if you want to go get a license in Florida and operate over there, you're already capped here, you get 100% of your commission over there. Right. They're doing 10%, 7%. They're doing BTSAs in percentages. And why is that? Because supply and demand. So here at Realty of America, we're doing the same thing. These RSU packages are not going to remain this way. As the company grows and we add more agents, we will be reducing the number of shares, because the last thing we want to do is dilute the equity of the company. We're really big on protecting equity. We don't pay for anybody. And that's a big thing, because people will say, hey, so-and-so wants to come over. They got 200 agents, or they do this, but they want X amount of shares to come over. We're like, we don't buy anybody.
Right.
The value is us. We don't have to pay you. Just like when you go to a listing appointment, the value is you. Sometimes you don't have to reduce your commission, because it's like, I am the value. So what do you get for attracting agents? If you attract an agent right now, when they close their first deal, you're getting 400 RSUs. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of shares. You can start attracting that.
Absolutely.
And so, anyways, the next slide. That's growing your business. Go to the next slide. So you want to talk about what we're doing to grow business on LMS and things like that.
Yeah, there's another slide in a bit where I'll break down LMS, but let me just share this for this slide. The cloud-based brokerage has been around for 10, 15 years now. And I saw that I needed to make that move after my 17 years. But then whenever I got over there, I started to identify these things that, even though rev sharing, the cloud-based brokerage is the future, there were still things that weren't working, because a bunch of the people that got to EXP early, they now live in Puerto Rico and they haven't sold a house in 15 years. But that they were promising training, but they're out of the game. And so this conversation that Mark and Eddie and I have had is about not only building modern training that every agent can access, but continuously having it being taught by the agents who are still selling houses today. So going back to what I said earlier, the way that anyone ever becomes a top producer is by getting around someone who has already done it, right? Before the Industrial Revolution, you had the mentor and then the apprentice. We're back into that again, right? Because we're not employees. We don't want to go become employees. You want to be mentored by someone who's the best of the best at social media or sphere of influence or fix and flips, right? Diego Corza. Like we are grabbing the best of the best, and we're going to stay current on this and have it accessible at your fingertips, and then have a mentorship program so that you can also get that one-to-one training. And that's going to be the commitment, because we are agents, and we're going to stay relevant from this point early on and then going forward. And then we're even today, because Eddie understood this at Chicago, there's a live training 5 days a week. Like we're not going to stop. We will make it the agent's responsibility. We're going to equip the agents with everything that they need to win: environment, mindset, skill set, tools. And then all you have to do is plug in and go. And they've gone out and found people who have already built this in other companies, and we're working as quickly as we can to get it all rolled out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next slide. ROA is more than a brokerage. It's a movement of agents supporting each other. And that's really, a true statement. We're big on collaboration, regardless of what organization you're in, what city, state. We want to be there to support you. I'm here as a resource. I'm always here to help you grow. Test me. I tell people all the time, test me out. If you send me a message on Facebook, I just found out, and this is because of Ozzy Ramirez. Shout out to Ozzy. He's a friend of mine. He put up on his social yesterday, did anybody know about Facebook spam? Because I just missed hundreds of messages.
Oh, wow.
So I went into my Facebook spam and I missed hundreds of messages. Last night, I was up till midnight just responding and saying, I don't know if anybody got a message in here. Did anybody get one where I was like, I'm so sorry you just went to spam, because this guy's probably thinking, Mark doesn't respond at all. I sent back-to-back, happy birthday to your son. Oh man, this property looks amazing. Oh, when are you gonna invite me? And it was just like blank, 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 blank. So
5 years ago.
No, we are here to support, put me to the test. Reach out to me. It's Mark Dimas Official on Instagram. I'm more now on Facebook because we have our ROA community, so reach out to me. I'm available to help you mastermind with any deals that you have, help you with attraction, talk to agents for you. That's what we're about. We're about building mentorship and growth and long-term success. Go to the next slide. And our mission, integrity, we build a lasting, our business is built on integrity, for one. My reputation is important to me, and all of our reputations. When we brought the leadership together, that was one of our main values, is that we want somebody that has good integrity. Creston Indereaton, one of our leaders here, right? He's out on vacation. Shout out to Creston. But he says it this way. This is his mom's advice to him. Creston, it takes you a lifetime to build up your reputation. It takes you one mistake, and in 10 minutes you can crush it. That's super important to us. We're here to empower our agents to give them success, to give them the tools that they need, to give them the mastermind, to give them the opportunity to really change the dynamic of their life. We're here to innovate. We're always thinking about, hey, what's next? I will tell you right now, we'll be one of the first, if not the first, real estate AI blockchain companies out in the market.
Right.
So that's really big. We're making partnerships with billionaires, and I haven't posted too many things, but because I'm a Gen Xer, right? I turned 50 years old last year. You're gonna rarely find a selfie on my Instagram, but since Realty of America, I've been blessed, and many of you guys have been blessed, and will continue to be blessed by the network that it's allowing us to associate with. I was invited to the Bitcoin conference last month. And that conference had 35,000 people. I was given a free VIP whale pass. That whale pass cost $30,000 to be in that room. Anybody that had a whale pass, $30,000. I actually had dinner with them twice, my first 100 billionaire. A person that's worth 100 billion. I got to be able to meet with Lakshmi Patel, and some of you guys will be able to meet him in July 8th. I'm going to be inviting you. I'll share the slide. Lakshmi Patel owns 4,000 apartment complexes, not doors. He was the biggest single family owner of houses in the United States as an individual, 65,000 houses. He lives in Dallas, Texas. He has a family fund that he runs of his own family money of $15 billion. He sits on he's a chairman of board of 7 companies. He's now a friend of mine. Sends me messages. Hey, Mark, congratulations, this and that. And those are the rooms and the people we're going to put you in touch with, because we want to elevate everybody. We're a company that's building equity. We're going to go IPO. What does that mean? That every person that joins Realty of America brings about $40,000 to $50,000 of value, probably even more, to the company valuation. So it doesn't matter that she's not in my organization, if she wasn't in my organization,
right.
And I'm helping her, because as I help her, I may not get a direct result on the money monthly, but I get a direct result for building a company that I own shares in.
Right.
So when we have that one unified, hey, what's the vision, that we're all together. Like when you win, I win. Even if you win in Florida or you win in New Jersey, it's a silent win because I don't know who you are. You're building, and we're all building each other up. So it's really important to us. And we want to lift up the community, because that's how Eddie built his business, with community support, and we want to give back. We will be the company that puts on the largest national turkey event by any industry in the United States, and the largest backpack event. Because we're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of agents who are going to support us to give back. And it's all going to be on the same day, all around the country, so that it's something that we can, really create that momentum and movement for. Next slide. And so that's serving the community with the back to school event, the turkey drive giveaway. And then we're also creating a 503C, or just a
charitable
501c3. Yeah, charitable. I'm not heading that up, by the way. That's Max Zacher, our COO. So that will be also agent led. So whenever disaster comes, or we have an agent that is suffering or anything like that, we can give back to the community that way.
Fantastic.
Women Aroa. Can we have a shout out to any women that are part of Women Aroa here? Yeah. So we're doing a list right now. We have we're right at about 2,200 agents, and we have about 1,400 from our account ladies at Realty of America. And they are, Amy, you want to share what Women Aroa are doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a quick. So Amy Lampman, everybody, our leader out of the Woodlands.
I would like to be put on the spot. I'm the
Yeah.
president of my company. Women of Roa. We also have Trisha Turner in the house.
Let's go, Trisha.
Okay, come with me. So we actually flew to Costa Rica in March. So we officially have a room together. Yes, one of my dearest friends in the world. By the way, we were sideline partners in EXP. So when you talk about collaboration, that is kind of what we are, right?
5 years.
For 5 years,
Yeah.
we did not make $1 off each other, but we supported each other. We rented rooms, we hired
did
coaches, we did events, we spoke, we taught, we helped each other. We listened, we've cried together, we've tried together, we've grown together, we've changed together, we've pivoted, and now we're doing this together.
We are.
So, Women of Roa.
Yeah. Y'all, like, when y'all see when they first launched ROA, everyone was like, it's the men's club. It's like, it's not the men's club. There's women of power in this company. We have to get out there. So Claudia Saker is the founder of the Women of ROA. She's like, we gotta get people together. Like, we have to take a stand. We're like, all right, we'll do it. We'll do it. Like, we got nothing else to do, right? Which is so untrue. Like, we're super busy, but they tell you give the project to the busiest people and they'll get it done. It may be the last minute. Like, I may not book my flight till the night before we leave, but it's gonna get done. That's the way that we roll.
Yeah.
And so, Women of ROA, we want to bring you guys empowerment because y'all, we matter. Like, everything we do matters. At the end of the day, our company is going to be the greatest real estate company in America. We were at EXP. I was there for 5.5 years. We were there the same amount of time. Yeah, same amount of time, just in different organizations. And that's how Chad and I know each other. We were in the same world together. So Chad and I have been friends for years too. And then I left EXP because of some of the same things that Chad was unhappy about. And we went to Real. And she was like, I'm coming. So she came to Real. And that was the first time we were together collaboratively and in alignment financially. And then when I heard about this, I was like, Mark is doing what? I know Mark. I got to go talk to Mark. What is going on here? So I go meet with Mark for like 3.5 hours. And I call her and I'm like,
Are you sitting down?
I need to talk to you.
What's happening?
Because we'd only been at Real for a short time and I knew she was going to think I was insane.
You are.
And I was like, you're not going to believe what's happening. Like, and I just laid out the foundation. And she said,
I'm in.
you were like, first she was like, are you telling me that we're moving? And I said, I am. And she was like,
I'm in.
yeah, and it was crazy. So now we have Women of Roa, which is super crazy. And we have some amazing people already in it. Karina's right here and Katie with us. Maribel, of course, is right here with us. And Amy's got her family, Mia and Lauren, they're in the Woodlands. So we have different branches. And so we've expanded it now into divisions. And Maggie's over there too, so Maggie's part of it too. So we have a board. We've now put a board together.
Yes.
And Maggie's on the board, and Karina's on the board, and Maribel's on the board, and Daisy's not here, but she's on the board. And our goal is to like grow it, and we have a big vision. So we were
Grow
doing
it and
grow
duplicate it.
absolutely,
And
in
then
other
teach,
cities,
right? In other cities, and then really we're collaborating with people across the nation.
Yeah.
So some of the women that we're collaborating with are Claudia Zaker.
Yeah.
And I mean Pamela Valenciano. These are people that are in different states.
Yeah.
But the company brought us together. They're like, who are some strong leaders that can really collaborate nationwide and bring vision to people that are young. I mean, these ladies started with me when they were 19 years old,
Yeah.
right? But now they're producing, they're cappers. So we want to show women how to rise up, how to collaborate together, and never, never, never feel like you're alone on an island, right?
Yeah.
We are sisters.
Yeah.
We
like he said, when we win, he wins. We all win. We
Yeah.
all win together.
we're just
100%.
breaking barriers,
Yeah.
and we're actually being the voice, and we're making an impact. And that's why, did it say it on there? Be the voice, make an impact.
No, but ladies
When you
dinner
have
club.
that.
So here's if you
Tell me what you need us to add. We'll add it to the next deck.
If you are a lady, a woman of Roa, so we have ladies dinner club that was instrumental by Lauren, Amy's daughter, and Amy,
true.
and they put this together for us to come together once a month. We're all in different areas of Houston, so we're like, you know what? At our first board meeting last week, we're like, we can't come together once a month from all different areas. We're going to have to break this up because we're going to grow big. So we've got to have south, and we've got to have north, and we've got to have west. We got one more division that we're going to open so that we can have a ladies dinner club every single week of every month. So tonight,
is in the Woodlands
It's in the
at
Woodlands.
Boss Cat at Market Street.
Yep.
And what's beautiful about our dinner club is we are not just saying, oh, if you're women of ROA.
Yeah.
The women of ROA are inviting other realtors from
Nice.
other brokerages.
Yeah.
It's brokerage friendly.
And businesses.
We're also inviting businesses. And actually one of my business partners sitting right next to me, Lauren Lash, raise your hand so I can see you. She was invited to our dinner club. Now we're collaborating and we're actually doing things so outside the box that we were going to share with all of you.
She's not a
So-
realtor.
And so, but she's now a client.
Yeah.
She's a dear friend. And so we are thinking so outside the box because it's who you surround yourself with.
Okay.
It's who you put yourself next to. And if you're going to put yourself next to anyone, put it next to him.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of
Thank you.
important, right? No, but thank you for letting us speak
Thank
for a
you.
minute.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
Thank you.
Watch for that.
You would think that was scripted, right? Because she did such an amazing job.
All right, so let's talk about this. The training is being taught by agents that are winning at the highest level. So if I sit down and talk to 100 agents in a row, 97 of them, after at least 10 minutes, they'll go, Chad, I really need more leads. Would you guys agree with that? Like, you can tell me all the different things, but at the end of the day, you're like, man, I need more lead generation, right? So the ROA, we're going to call it the Success Vault. The training is going to be the first one that I've ever seen in my career where it's linear. So in other words, there's going to be a brand new boot camp for like your first 21 days. But let's say you've already been selling houses for a while. You're going to be able to go to a screen, and when you hover over this, it's going to say, do you have more than enough leads? And if the answer is no, then you're going to click straight in. And then we break modern lead generation into 4 pillars. So you've got outbound prospecting. Not everybody wants to do that. You've got inbound marketing. So that's how to get the phone ringing and have inbound leads coming in. You've got social media content creation broken down per platform. And then your sphere of influence. And so all of the mindset training to help you uncover where those mental blocks are, to help you take more action than you've ever taken before, and then exactly what everybody's doing to win right now with lead generation is right there. Well, then if you hover over the next one and you've got leads coming in and it says, do you have leads but you're struggling with conversion? We're going to break down automation, personalization, lead follow-up, exactly when to follow up, how to follow up, what to say, when to say it, how to have your tech working with you, and then breaking down every conversation you need to have, because whatever amount of money you make in real estate, it's based on the level of your conversations in real estate. So you elevate your language patterns, you will make more money. And we've got it broken down word for word in every single phase of the real estate business. The 4 milestones is you've got leads, you're converting. The 4 milestones is how to put properties under contract and set every expectation with your clients so that when it closes, they thank you and it turns into referrals for life. And so it's all the systems that you need to set expectations and even deal with the challenges that show up in real estate. Well, you get those 3 done and you're experiencing successful closings. So from there, we go into, we've got an agent that was a Brian Buffini student for a decade. So we've gone in, she's done this with me for 18 months. And so Realty of America will have a playbook for every agent in the company for every month of the year to go in. So in 2 weeks for July, she's going to go, all right, so it's July, I'm going to give you the August playbook. So for your past clients, your anyone who's ever referred you business, for your business affiliates, here's what we do to our database to re-engage them and to build meaningful connections for the month of August. It's back to school. We do teacher gift cards. We do this. Here's the handwritten note you can send. Here's the resources we use. Here's the pop-by gifts. Here's the client event you could do. And it's going to be 12 months in a row SOI playbook, so you have repeat referrals coming in for life. Okay? Well, you got all that going. You're going to need some leverage in your life. So now it's how to hire admin, how to hire buyer's agents, how to hire listing agents, how to build leverage, how to use AI, how to grow your attraction so you have passive income coming in through that way, all the different ways to build leverage into your life. And so do you see how it's linear? And then you get to the end and we're working on a concept we call the infinite agent model. So the biggest book in real estate that agents have ever had was The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's time for a new book.
That's right.
It's time for a new model. And so what we're building is a way that you build your real estate agent business, and you have so much leverage coming in through, let's say, rev share, through leverage with your lead gen. So you've got buyer's agents, you've got listing agents, that you've offset all of your expenses, and 100% of your gross commissions is profit, making you an infinite agent. So that's the layout of all the training that we're going to have. No one has ever done anything like this.
Let's go. Let's go. Next slide. So our tech platform, this is what it looks like right now. Actually, Blink Swag is being created as we speak. So what is our goal? So we're going to go public in the next 2.5 years, and we want to own 70% of our own tech. Right now, we own realtyofamerica.com. It is a platform. It's not a website. The difference is that when you have a platform, it's to compete with companies like Redfin and Zillow.
Right.
So this was 20 months in the works. We just launched it May 3rd. Every 2 weeks, there's a new update to the website. Everybody that's part of Realty of America, you should have your own landing page. I have so many testimonies of people saying, I just got a $900,000 organic lead.
Right.
From the landing page. You're ranking at the top of Google at realtyofamerica.com, 100% SEO optimization, because Paul did a little check on it. And so, we don't pay for that.
Right.
Meaning we're not paying to be at the top of Google. It's organic. So take advantage of that. We want to be able to provide you not only how to close leads, but we want to provide you with leads. This is free to you. So we own that. That's our platform. We own our own revenue dashboard, or our own dashboard.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
The entire dashboard. The first month we paid revenue share, we had a revenue share dashboard. No other rev share company had that. It took them years and months to be able to create those type of platforms. We also own our own onboarding system. We're going to be owning our own document storage platform. We're going to be owning, our, the only thing we won't own is our own sign-in solution. But eventually we'll have our own CRM, and we'll have all these platforms that are proprietary to Realty of America. And that's going to happen within the next 2.5 years. So let's go to the next slide. That's talking about realtyofamerica.com, right? Is that the agent website? Yep. And also we're giving out seller and buyer leads. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be the platform that's also giving you leads. We mentioned, if you're part of Realty of America, make sure that you go on to the Facebook page. And if you are a listing agent, you've taken listing, I would say that if you've at least sold 5 listings in a year, you should apply.
Sure. You
should apply. And because we just inked a deal with a nationwide account. We're betaing Houston, Texas as the first market. And it's going to launch in 3 weeks. They told us we're going to get about 60 listing appointments a week. So, and their conversion on those listing appointments are between 15 and 20%.
Nice.
This is not a 2% type of listing lead. This is a bigger deal because of the partnerships that we have. And we're creating bigger partnerships. I mean, Chad just told me about one yesterday, and it like blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, he's meeting with the CEO of big companies and running some pilots. And we want to bring value, not as my team or his team. We're doing it for the whole of Realty of America. That's why we're inviting you to make the application so we can hire you, and give you those opportunities. Next. This is new. I know that Maribel will love this because she has a hub. Amy, Trisha, we've been talking about this. Goes in development next week. So you'll be able to go to our website. One thing about us, we're cloud-based. However, because a lot of our agents are top producers, what do top producers have? They have their own office. And since we're so collaborative, my office, Maribel's office, Trisha's office, Maggie's office, all these people are saying, hey, we want to collaborate. Grecia's office, say, we want to bring value. Okay, well, how do we find it? You're going to be able to go on and say, I'm in Houston, Texas. I'm looking for an office. Okay, great. There's 15 offices here. Okay, here's the square footage, here's this, here's how much we offer. I mean, here's what we offer for free. You can use our conference room. You can come in and come to our trainings. Or here's what we have for paid. We have these private offices. We got offices for teams. So we want to bring a resource to our agents and bring that out. So this is launching really quickly, by the way. So, yeah. So where are we at? Expansion. Right now, we're open in 17 markets.
So close.
Ew, we gotta be Illinois. Come on! I didn't even know that he put this up here. Okay, he's taunting us. You know, Tomas put the deck together. You know, so we are less than, what is that? 40 agents away from being the #1 state for Realty of America. So
Come on.
you know, let's go. Once we get to be #1, it's gonna be hard for anybody to catch up. You know. But back up real quick. That's okay. So we are now over 2,100 agents. So what does that mean? What took EXP 6 years? 6 years at 1,500? Because I looked at the last slide. It was
6 years to get to 1,000 agents.
okay. Say it, but it took them 8 years to get to 1,500. Yeah. So we did 2,100 in 9 months. Well, and why does that? Is that to say we're better? No, it's to say what is the value of your shares going to be? So think about it. eXp Realty went public at 200 agents. They've been around 15 years. They've been $100 per share during COVID. They're all around the world. I mean, they're an amazing company to give us like the vision of where we want to be. Real Brokerage, they are how old?
Almost the same age.
They're about 10 years old.
11 years.
11 years old. Took them about 5-6 years to get 6 years to get to 1,500, 2,000 agents. We did it 10x faster. So think about this. You're in a company that's growing 10x faster than our competitors that are public and that are great companies to be able to shoot for. We are, so 10x faster. We're going to go with no debt because we're a debt-free company. By the way, we've been profitable since our first quarter, which is Q4 of last year, Q1 of this year, and Q2 of this year, profitable, which is super rare for a company to be profitable straight out the gate.
Right.
We're going to have we have no investor capital, which is really important because we don't have a corporation or investor directing where the company is going. The reason why you're seeing the sprints happening so quick and when people give us ideas or saying, hey, this isn't efficient and we need to make it work is we are agents who understand your language.
Right.
That's really big, right? When you talk to other people that are not in our industry, even if they're lenders, they don't understand the same language as a real estate agent. So when you're talking about processes and what our clients need and how to be more efficient, I can say, okay, that makes sense. Our team can say that makes sense. Let's put it in order and let's change it. We're very nimble because that's how we've all built our businesses.
Right.
You know, but 17 right now, open in 17 markets. We literally just opened up Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, and I think those were the most recent markets. And we're just getting started in those markets. Your opportunity to grow nationwide and to grow your footprint is incredible there. And what's next? We're almost done, by the way. Thank you for staying with us. So what are we doing in production? This is May's numbers. We hit our 1,000 transactions in 1 month in May.
That's awesome.
For a company that's 9 months old, that's incredible. We did $350 million in closed volume in May alone. Since launch, we've closed 5,000 houses and we've done $1.75 billion in closings. We haven't even closed out this month. We are over $420 million, I believe, in volume. We're over 1,000 transactions. We're going to be over 500,000 in rev share. Like the momentum, we're growing 20 to 25% a month in production in units. That's where you want to be. So you don't have to sell too much the vision that here's what we're going to do. We're already doing it.
Right.
You know, when we talk to Chad, when we talk to Nino, when we talk to Trisha even, when I talk to Maribel, this is like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's who's involved. Here's our plan. Here's where we think it's going to go. Now we don't have to say, here's where we think it's going to go. We say, now you see where we're at.
Yeah.
Now the momentum's growing. And thank you, Mary, for putting this together. And
Thank you.
and
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it. I know this is a long day, but I thank you for holding, staying here, and welcome to Mingle, ask questions, and we're good. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you. Hey, so good to see you. We are Women of Roa.
The first 2 men of Roa. There's nothing funny about it.
Start over. Do it over.